A guy with $10 billion made a few more billions over the last few years, even though there was a global pandemic and businesses were shut down for months. But a poor guy became poorer because of the global pandemic, and businesses were shut down for months. So, why do the rich keep getting richer? Let's understand. Savers are losers. Your parents might have given you the blueprint for success if you are a millennial. Go to college, get a job, and save lots of money. Don't buy avocado toast and coffee. You will be happy and successful in your life. But, let me tell you a secret, this doesn't work. They will give you this blueprint because it worked for them. Imagine a guy who graduated in the 1970s, $1 million at 15% of interest earned them $150,000 yearly. One more thing to consider is one could live on $150,000 a year. But now, it costs you $1 million to save $1 million, and the math simply doesn't add up. This deteriorated financial system is one of the main reasons why the rich are getting rich. In simple words, remember the good old days when a guy with a nice candy shop could own a home and a car. That's not the case anymore. Fewer houses are earning a middle-class income. With every progressing decade, families earning middle-class income are going down at a significant rate. Blame capitalism. When your income is low, you can't be independent. Individuals with little or no income depend on the government, leading to a sense of entitlement. People conclude that the government should take care of them. It is also a moral crisis where people believe in receiving rather than giving. This mentality isn't limited to one generation. Some boomers, baby boomers, millennials, and even Gen Zs believe that the government should feed them. If you look at the last decade, we had like 4 major economic crashes. Considering that we are entering 2023 with the after effects of the global pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war, we should be ready for another major economic crash. If it doesn't crash, the economy isn't going to grow at a rapid rate. We have to sustain through turtle-level growth. Bush tax cuts. Have you ever wondered how the rich guy who makes millions and billions gets tax cuts? Here is their dirty little secret called Bush tax cuts. The 2001 and 2002 tax cuts reduced the top 4 marginal income tax cuts. It also allowed tax cuts on capital gains and dividends. This reduced the top marginal tax rates and reduced the average tax rate for all taxpayers whose income was above those thresholds. High-income taxpayers were the largest beneficiaries of this scheme. The top 1% of households are estimated to receive more than $50,000 in tax cuts a year. Isn't it insane? Thanks to George W. Bush. The rich are ripping us off. Imagine there was a $100, and it has to be split among rich, middle class, and poor people. In the 1960s, the rich got the most of the $100. When we say the most part, we mean more than half, and the middle class got much less than rich people. Poor people got pennies. Things stayed the same for a few decades, and with political and socio-economic conditions, the rich got even richer in the 80s and 90s. The trend didn't stop after the 90s. The gap between the rich and the poor just got wider and wider. Today, poor people are the worst scenario. There is a reason why Bernie Sanders' message hit the nail on the head. It is rooted in 50 years of reality. Rich gets bailouts. Isn't it surprising how Wall Street thieves even when the economy is in free fall? If you want to know who is the real beneficiary of the federal government's massive resume efforts, look for the stocks of the private equity firms that are dramatically increasing. The government's efforts to save the economy in 2020 during the global pandemic were considered a success. But there was another side to this story. Around 20 million people lost their jobs during the crisis, which was the worst situation after the Great Depression. But the stock market didn't slow down. Analyze the trends of a few billion-dollar companies to know who won the bailout. We're not allowed to learn about money in school. Did you know that it was illegal to educate slaves? That makes sense. You can't abuse and exploit a person if they are well educated and know about their rights. The same thing applies to modern capitalist society too. We are not taught about money because they don't want us to be educated enough. Once a person knows their rights, you cannot exploit their labor and make millions of dollars while throwing them pennies. Misunderstanding of what financial education is. Financial education is not about saving money and investing it for the long term in the stock market and getting out of debt. It is exactly the opposite of that. It understands how money works and what it will do for you. It realizes the power of money. It all starts with the game of Monopoly. Remember that board game with houses, hotels, etc.? It is one of the best ways to learn about money. The rich have better connection. Someone with great wealth and power will attract others with great money and power. This is universal. You attract the type of people you are. This will help the rich connect with the best of the best in their field, and these connections are the bridge to great, making them richer. Job cuts. The pandemic has severely affected developing countries. When the government started easing COVID restrictions, there was a sharp rise in consumer demand but a disrupted supply chain, both resulting in global inflation, which reached record levels. Banks were forced to wind up the policies that allowed access to easy money. They have also announced interest rate rises. Banks aim at reducing the demand so that prices soften. To preserve their earnings because of the policy shift, companies start announcing job cuts, which harms the working class. Large companies retain profits to give dividends to their shareholders instead of increasing wage incomes. However, this problem is not just limited to large firms, the same happens in small firms. The rich have assets. A guy with a job can earn some, but a guy with income plus a spare room that he can rent using Airbnb earns more. It is not that you can only get paid for your labor or time. The rich take full advantage of it. Check out the assets of the richest guy in your town. I bet he owns a couple of buildings, houses, or complexes. When people pay to use your assets, they are called income-producing assets. The best example is real estate. Rich people have a lot of such assets, which help them earn even when they aren't working. Try to make real estate the cornerstone of your portfolio if you want to get rich. Apart from real estate, cash is also an income-producing asset. Rich people will have lots of cash. Banks will borrow them and pay them interest rates. So the rich have more income-producing assets that will help them generate cash flow and continue to increase their net worth. The rich have greater influence. Most rich people made their money with their own companies or with CEOs of such companies. One great example is Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google. He gets paid more than $242 million per month. His basic pay is around $2 million, and he also owns a considerable share of the company. Money brings great power to people, and we often underestimate rich people's influence. They have a huge influence on their employees and customers. Consider Kylie Jenner, for example. She has a huge following on social media because of her family's fame. She was already rich and used her following to launch her cosmetic line, which made her richer. The wealth gap stats. It is clear that the gap between the rich and others in the world is reaching a critical condition. If you are wondering how big this wealth gap is, be ready to be surprised. According to experts, the top 10% of the population that is extremely rich takes home around 52% of the income, and the poorest half of the population takes around 8% of the income. Let that sink in. Because of economic inequality, young people are in a huge crisis. Take a moment and recall all the articles you read about the decreasing number of millennials who start a family, buy a house, or at least buy a car. Unemployment is one of the biggest crises youths are in, and what's more concerning is, today's unemployed become tomorrow's unemployable because they lose the skills they have to get a job. Let's analyze the reason for this economic inequality one at a time. Let us know in the comments why you think the rich get richer.